Hey guys, welcome back for the second part of the video of the lecture, which is lecture 3. Alright, so this video we're going to talk about do some queries. So I'm just talking about select statements. So basically, at this point, what is a select statement? So let me actually open up something here. So this, probably better describe it this way. Alright, so let me increase this font. Alright, so select. So what is select? So select is a way, it's a method that allows you to get your data results. So when you say you want to select, that means that you want to query something. So for example, if I went to Google and I wanted to find out the best dresses for women, I mean, obviously women want to know the best dresses, then you know it pulls up information. So that right there, or if I want to do best ties for men, that pulls up information. That's a query. And what we're doing there is a select statement. You don't see it, but behind the scenes, a select statement is running, and that's what's happening there. Now, in order to get the data, we have to tell it where we want to get it from. So that's the from. From is specifies the database name and or the schema. So in our case, database name is AP, and that's also the name of the schema. So I would refer to it as the database name. So you want to select the database name. So select, you want to select potentially star. Let's put it this way. When you select, you have two things that you want to select. One, you want to do star, which equals all records. Okay, it's everything. Second thing is field names. If you only want to specify certain field names, then you'll include that in your select statement. Where? So what does where mean? Where specifies what you want to happen. So you could say where field equals something, or table equals something. So for example, the invoices. So if I go to invoice table, I'll select it right here. I could say, oh, give me everything where vendor ID equals 97. So where specifies something that you're trying to do. Now, if you want to do more stuff, so for example, let's say I go into sheets, for example. So I go into Excel, and let's say that I have records there. We'll say teams, right? Just give you guys an example. So we have teams. We'll say Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, something like that. And so when we specify teams, we come in here and we could do a search on it. We could filter on it. And we can say, oh, okay, you know what? Give me everything in my search. I'm like filter values. Let's see here. Let's say, give me everything as penguins. Okay. So it's gonna filter on penguins, right? Hit OK. But now, or no, I must have did a unfilter. Select. Okay. So you can select everything, which gives you everything. But if you say, you know what? I don't want Steelers. I just want penguins and pirates. Then it just gives that. But if you're like, give me everything, then it shows everything. So that's what the where clause does. Now, there's something called the and clause. And what's the and clause? This is when you want to include additional things. So for example, we said Steelers. We could say, in this example, let's say that our thing was called teams. So let's say it was called teams equals Steelers. Then we could say, and there's a better way of doing this, but we'll just use this. Teams equals bills. So now you're specifying two ways of doing things, but there's a better way of doing this. We'll explain later how to do it. Uses something called the end clause, but that's for another time, another day. Order by. So order by works just like Excel. So if you come in Excel and you do a what is it? Sorting by, sort by. It's been a while since I've sorted by in here, so how the heck you sort by in here? Well, I apologize. I do not know how to sort in Excel. I'm not an Excel expert, but what in the heck's it at? I could do an Excel. This is Sheets. Jeez. All right, so let's pull up Excel real quick because I am lost. So I can do it in here. At least I think so. Yeah, sort and filter. I don't know why. Anyway, you sort A to Z. I'm not sure why. I don't remember how to do it in Sheets. But anyways, that's how you do it. So that would be your order by. And then limit is how many records you want to see. So for example, if I come over here and do invoices, you know, it automatically says 500. I could come here and change it to 400 or 300. And you could also put it in your code as well. So you can specify it. I was about ready to ask, is there any questions? But I'm going to say there's none because this is a recorded video. All right. So, but if I didn't want to do that and I didn't want to have it use all this information, I wanted to do this all on my own without running stuff. So what I would do is, let's increase this. So I'd come down here, and first of all, I'd say use invoices. That's the name of the, or AP actually, that's the name of the schema. And then I would say select all from invoices and execute. See, it pulls everything up. Now you notice when I do all, it gives me all the fields across. Let's say I want to specify certain fields. So I'm going to do, give me the vendor ID. You have to add a comma when you want to add another column. So we'll say vendor ID, give me the invoice date, comma, and also give me the payment total. Oops. Oops. And so if I hit run, look at that. I only get those columns only, not just everything. Okay, so you're getting just that information. Now, let's see here. Let me go back to all real quick. So we do all. And we talk about where clause and and clause and stuff like that. So let's do this. Let's say where invoice number equals, and I'll grab this invoice number. Now here's the thing, I need to figure out what type of data type this is. So there's different data types and we haven't talked about it yet. And I should mention it. This is an integer. So let me go back here for a second and talk about this. So, and we do talk about data types later on, but just to give you an example, here's some of the data types. Integer, int is integer. And we should all know that's a whole number. So anytime you want a whole number, you're going to use an integer. So it's like, for example, it's at 8, 9, 100, whatever. But you can't do 100.35 or 30 or 34. That would be considered decimal. So then we go over here and say, what's a decimal? Well, that's your money thing. So if you're doing something with 32.00, then fine, you want to use that. For example, if I look down here to this data, payment total, click on payment total, look at that, it's using a decimal. Now you notice it's using something called decimal 92, right? So that means that there's two decimals. You could, so that means whatever your value is, you're going to have like say 89.22. But if you wanted to add say 4 decimals here, then you might have 89.2234. And that's only to get all the data. So there might be a reason for that purpose. It just depends on the situation, okay? So there's integer, there's decimal, there's something called varchar. So varchar basically is, you have to specify how many spaces you want in, the length of the field. So it's how many fields do you want to put in there. Now what you don't want to do is say you use, say 234 fields and you only use 4 spaces like we did Jeff. But you have, oops. You get my point, all the way to 234. That takes up space. And over time, that will increase this, the size of your database, and you'll have unwanted space not being utilized. So you gotta be smart about it. There's something called a char. I call it char, everyone calls it a char, it depends. This is specific for data that you know that you're gonna have specific fields. So for example, let's say that we're setting up something for state. Majority of people ever uses abbreviations, so we know that's gonna be 2 characters. So we could do a char and do something like that. We give it 2 spaces, it's not using anything. But let's say that we give it 4 spaces. So here's what happens if we have PA, and then it has this right here. That's how the data is, and then we're giving it unwanted space, and it causes problems. This one's bigger than the varchar issue. So those are the main ones that we use, and so those are the ones that we'll talk about from here out. All right, so we did our select statement. What else we want to do here? So let's talk about, I wanted to get in a weird thing, so I didn't finish it. So we know that I did see it was an invoice number. So the reason I said that is if I come in here and paste the value that I'm looking for, oh geez, it copied the whole row. I didn't need that. So let's just do this. Let's do Control C and Control B. All right, so you're gonna play games with me. Let's do this. I think that was one of them. So you see here how I specified it. So I know it's an integer, so you're just gonna, when you do it, you're gonna equal like this. And so if I ran this, it'll pull the data up. It'll give that specific one. But if I did this right here, with the ticks around it, and ran it, it works, but it's not the right way. And the reason being is, we're looking for a string. You only do that when you're using a string. You want to do it like this if you're using an integer. So we're like, oh, okay, that works. So let's do this. Let's grab something else, because let's grab something that has multiple values in it. So let's start where we could do more searches. So vendor, because what happened there is we only got one value. And if we wanted to use the AND clause, what it does, the AND clause takes it down to that absolute answer, okay? And that one was our absolute answer. So let's say, give me everything from the vendor ID equals 1, 2, 3. So I know there's gonna be multiple results, perfect. Now this allows us to use the AND clause. We could say, and give us everything where the invoice total is greater than, let's say 40, actually let's do that, less than or equal to 40, 25, okay? We run that and see what results we get. All right, so it didn't like that. Let's see why. All right, come on, pull it up. Come on, where you at? There it is, error code. SQL syntax, picture manual corresponding, which means it doesn't know what the less than or equal does, equals. Other languages would. Oh, you know what, it wasn't that. I put a tick right here, and I meant to put this, so it didn't know what to do with it. There you go. So let me clear this right here. It didn't know how to handle that. So that's good. So now, I was actually confused. I was like, how's that not working? All right, so we use our AND clause. Now, we have what? How many results? Oops, not many results. So we've kind of deeped it down a little bit. So we drove it down a little bit more. So now we can use an AND clause to go even further. So before we do that, let's use our order by. So let's do order by, and we were doing it on the invoice total. So let's say invoice total, and let's do descending. So we'll grab our highest number first. And so invoice total is 4020 is our highest. Our lowest is 10. So let's say that we want to change that number, or we want to break it down to something more. So we can't use 3 because it's going to give us everything. We can say and less than. We could say this. We could say this, and I'll show you. We could say and invoice total less than or equal to $11. Now, will this work? Yes, it will work. But there's a problem with this. We took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps to do that. We could have just came here. If you do this, that comments the code out. So when you execute the code, it doesn't run that. We could have just did this step right here, and it would give us our answer. But that's not what we want to do. I'm going to take this out right here, and what we're going to do is we're going to run something else. We're going to grab the date, and we're going to say, and the invoice due date is less than or equal to, let's see, these due dates are all in crazy order. So let's do this real quick. Let's do invoice due date. Let's order by that first and see what we got. All right, so we have 8. And now we could say, and invoice due date is less than or equal to, let's say, all right, let's say 5/15. So you have to put in that same order. You have to make it look like this unless you use something later on that we'll learn about how to change that around and use, we'll talk about how to use, not formulas, but expressions. So let's do 11. So we're saying, oh, when it equals this and it's less than or equal to that, let's do it. And we have nothing. So why did that not work? All right, so let's see why it didn't work. So I'm gonna hit this real quick. Oh, because I put the wrong year. I put 2015. All right, that makes sense. So let's go back. Let's run it again. All right, there you go. So now we only have one result. That's how you use the AND clause. We'll talk about other ways of other statements in certain circumstances. Let's see, let's say we only wanted certain fields, and we talked about this before. Let's say that we just want the vendor ID, we want the invoice number, we want the payment total, and we want the invoice due date. So if we do that, it gives us only 4 fields. That's perfect. All right. Let's try something else now. So that, I'll call that query 1. All right, cool. All right, so query 2. Let's grab everything from invoices again. So let's say select all from invoices. If I can spell right. So this is like a mixture of your lab lecture. So it's more of a lecture talking about stuff. I mean a lab. So let's say that we wanted to do this. Let's say I want to see invoice ID, invoice total, and I want to add some columns together. Okay, so now this is where it gets serious. So now we're saying let's do, oh, let's see, credit. Let's do payment total. Let's see if the credit total is how many values in it. Some of them do, but not all of them. So the only ones that have a credit total are these two right here. So let's do this, and we'll query on the certain one. So we'll do payment total plus credit total, and then we'll give it its own column. We'll say total credits. Okay, and then it's from invoices, and and then you know what we'll do is we'll just do the ones that we already see that there's something there. So we'll say where. So we only see 2 values. We see vendor ID 110, and we see vendor ID, oh, it's only 110, so that's perfect. Where vendor ID equals 110. So now I highlight it, remember? I run it, and there we go. Look at this, it adds it up, but you know what, I'm missing something. We need to show what those columns were. So payment total and credit total and comma. So that way we can see what the beginning part, and we can see if it even works. Okay, so we're saying that that's 1200. So you look right here, 1200 plus 0, we know what that is. That's perfect. But now we take the credit total and the payment total, and that gives it $23,517.58. So it added that up properly. So that's cool. So that's how you add stuff. Now, if I didn't do as, and I ran it like this, what do you think will happen? Well, it'll give the name of it. So it'll give payment total versus credit total. You probably don't want it like that because that, to me, makes 0 sense. So you want to keep it like that. All right, perfect. Moving on. So hopefully that helps out. Let's see here. What else? We talked about greater than and less than, so we're good there. We talked about everything. We talked about multiplication. All right, let's go over to another table real quick. Vendor contacts. This would be query number 3. I would suggest you write these queries up too and use them as practice. Okay, so query number 3, let's do a select all and see what we got from the vendor contacts page. That way we can at least get an idea what we're dealing with. All right, clear this stuff here. There we go. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use a function, and this function will give us the ability to consolidate both names together. Now, we could, let's do this. If we wanted to, and we could try this out, we could say, oh, we don't need that. Let's do just last name. Well, let's do first name plus last name. Why is it not working? Okay, from that, like, okay, that sounds like it could work, but it doesn't. It does this, and it just doesn't know what to do with it. So what we have to do in order to make this work is we have to use a function. So we do a concat, concatenate, and then what we do here is we do first name, and then you do comma, tick up. So I put a space in there, like that, and then I do last name, and then I give it a name, full name, just like at top we want to put as. So now if I run this query, look at that, we have full names. The reason I put that tick in there like this, I could have left it like this, no problem. But if I did that, then it's going to look jacked up. It's going to be all those names in it. So you want to give it space or it won't work. So that is how you concatenate a name, basically consolidate a name. Let's see, so we did that one. All right, trying to find some other ones that we didn't do. You can use other things, subtract, division, multiplication. It would be the same thing. So if we came up here and where we did the math, where we do, right here, we could do divided by. So your total is going to be different. See, it's a little jacked up. We could do multiplication, which will make it extremely high. So you see the numbers are off the chart. So we'll just leave it plus. I wanted to show you that. I forget about it. All right, so we talked about concatenation. So I'm trying to think of something else that we could talk about. Functions, parameters. But we're not going to do parameters yet. We could do, we'll get into, there's some other functions that I'm not going to get into right now. To me, it's just too much. I think doing the select statements perfectly is good for now. There is something I did want to show you. So let's go back to query number 4, which we'll do select all invoices. Oops. Like that. So we do all this. So we have, let's do the count. So this right here, if you do count star like that, it's a way to identify how many records that you have. So there's 112 records. All right, so say everything. Now let's do a distinct. Do distinct star. And this takes out the duplications. So let's do this right here. So let's do count. Let's see if the number is still 112. It's still 112, which is fine. But if we had duplicate records in there, it would give us a distinct value of what records that you have. So 2 ways you could do distinct, and later on we'll talk about something called group by. Actually, let's see if I can find something that we could use. So we know that vendor contacts is here. Let's see if vendors is something I could use. Yeah, vendors would be perfect because it has city and state. So let's do this right here. So let's do query number 5. This will be good. So we do select all from vendors. And we just want to see what we got here real quick. Just to do a little analysis. All right, perfect. So we got everything from vendors. Now you see here, we have a city here, a vendor city. So if we do a count of this, we know that our records is going to be higher, 122. Now, let's do a check right here real quick. All right, so let's do this. Let's do vendor city and vendor state. Okay. All right, so we have all these records. And then actually, let's do an order by real quick, just to see what we're dealing with real quick. Order by vendor state. All right, so look at this. We have Fresno, California 3 times. We have Phoenix, Arizona 3 times. Now let's use that distinct. Let's do distinct. Now let's run it. We should only have Phoenix 1 time, Anaheim 1 time. So now what the distinct does, it only grabs that value 1 time versus multiple times. So that is how you eliminate duplicate errors. Even if there are dupes, this is a way to identify it. Let's see what else. We talked to and. We didn't talk about the OR operator yet. So let's see, how can we use OR? So OR says that we could do one or the other, okay? So going back to this, an OR statement says or this or that. So let's say that we have two values on our table. One is Fairfield, and the other value is Reno. And we say, give me everything, say select all from vendors where city equals Fairfield or Reno. So what it does is it looks at the first one first and says, hey, does anything equal, I'll make sure I'm recording. I did this before I wasn't recording. Is anything equal Fairfield? And it gives it a yes or no. So if the answer is yes, then that's your result. Result will be is Fairfield. You won't get a result for Reno because it doesn't care about it. But let's go back and say, oh, it doesn't exist. It's no. Then if Reno does exist, then your result is Reno. Okay? So let's try it out and see how it works. So we know that we have a result for Fairfield. So let's say select distinct. Vendor state, let's say where vendor city equals, I'll say Reno or Columbus. Let's say or we could do or oh my gosh, or vendor city equals Columbus. And I need to put ticks around this. Actually, let's do this real quick. Reno or Columbus. All right, so now if we run this, we know that we have one in both. But which one will it display? It did Reno first because Reno came up like that. So if I take this out real quick and run this, we have it by the order by, we know that Reno is going to come up first. Even though it's not alphabetical order, because alphabetical order, Columbus would come up first. But since it's by state, so you've seen how that worked. Now let's say we did a different town, a town that we know that doesn't exist. So I'll put Masontown, which I know doesn't exist in there. And Columbus does. Oh, it didn't pull it up at all. Okay, why did it pull it up? We said where the city equals Columbus. Oh. Maybe I don't have Columbus in there. I thought it was in there. It is in there. So should have worked. Let's see something real quick. Let's put Madison. Alright, so Madison comes up, but it doesn't care about Columbus. Why does that not care about it? So this is how you do it in SQL Server. MySQL is a little bit different. So that is my mess up. So let's leave that town in there. I know that doesn't exist, Masontown. So that's how you do it. And then you say or vendor city equals Columbus. So in SQL Server, you do it this way. MySQL, you do it this way. I think that's what it is. All right, perfect. So it did work this time. So we knew that Masontown didn't exist, but Columbus did. Perfect. So that's your or statement. Let's see, what else did I forget? Not. All right, so you could say, also you could say this. You could say select all from vendors where vendor city, we'll say put this, we're not, vendor state, we'll say equals California. So if we run this here, it gives us everything without the city of California. So if we do order by vendor state, you'll see what I mean. See, doesn't exist because we used that not operator. All right, let's see, what else do I need to show you real quick? We need to do wildcard search. So you could do a wildcard search. So let's do this. So a wildcard search, and it's just like Google, for example. So if you go to Google and you come out here and you say, you just enter, I don't know, let's say, basketball games. It does a wildcard search and gives you everything, all kind of stuff there. So with that in mind, let's do a wildcard search here. So let's say select all from vendors where, let's see, city. Let's do vendor name. Vendor name is like, you do a tick, percentage, and we'll say WE, just WE. And then you do that. So now, if you run this real quick, you should get everything. Did I forget the thing on it? Let me think. I think I need that there. Every language is different. All right, yeah. Sorry. So now I did a WE percentage. So in this case right here, it's giving me anything with WE in it. But if I did this right here, did a tick and W in a percentage at the end and ran it like this, it should give me everything that starts with a WE, which is Wells Fargo. So this is more like an exact wildcard search. But if you do it this way here, it's going to give you everything. So if I said A, give me everything with A in it, it's going to pull up a bunch of stuff probably, which it does. But if I say give me everything with the word job in it, then it's going to pull anything with job in it. Maybe there's one thing, which there is. So that right there is a wildcard search and could be very valuable. That's pretty much it for this week. I don't want to give you too much, but I think this is a good start based off your homework as well. So let me show you how to do setting up the AP environment. So let me pull over Schoology real quick. Make sure I have this going. Too many courses to look at here. Module 2. Assignment is going out to, let's put this in a new tab. And so what you're going to do for Module 2, you're going to go out to AP right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to copy all this code. I could have made you type it, but that would have been painful. And I wouldn't made anyone do that. And copy it. So what you need to do is you need to come in here and do a new SQL. Paste this in. See that right there? I can't run it because this environment already works for me. It already exists. But let's see, AP. If I want to name it something else, I could. So let's do that and show you how it works real quick. So I think it's only up there. So here's what is happening. So let's call this something else. I'll call it BP. So I'm going to run this so you can at least see what happens. Yeah, let me increase this a little bit. Whoops, that's really big. All right, that's better. All right, so what it does is it comes out here and says, hey, drop the database if BP exists. So what it does, it looks, BP doesn't exist. Then what it does, it creates a database, which it creates that schema. And then it says, oh, I want you to use BP. Fine. Then it creates the table. Table name is General Ledger Accounts. And then it gives table name, data type, is it a primary key? Data type, varchar 50, and it says it's unique. We'll talk about all this later. But what it does is it creates all these table names. It creates something called indexes, and we'll talk about that later. This right here is insert scripts. We'll talk about this later, but what it's doing is inserting data into the tables. And it'll do all this to give it some values. And it'll go all the way down here, which would have been very painful if you had to type this. Then lastly, at the end, it creates a user and it grants all privileges. So all you have to do is click this little guy right here and hope for the best. And as you see here, I should delete all this stuff. It created it and granted everything. So now what you have to do is you have to come over here with this little recycle guys, refresh it. Look at this, I have something BP. Yours will be called AP. And then it'll have the tables. And then the first thing you need to do is you need to go out to one of those tables and make sure data exists. So if I went out to vendors, I'll make sure I have data, which you see I do. Let me clear this crap. All right. There we go. We have data. So that was good, that worked. Okay, so that's how you do that, guys. Pretty straightforward, right? I think so. All right, so what's the next thing that you have to do? All right, so you have to need to do that for all of them. So I'm going to see a screenshot that you actually did it. Number B is execute each SQL file in a query editor by my SQL Workbench, which you know how to do at this point. Write a query to pull data from the invoices table where the invoice dates are between 5/1 and 5/31. All right, so this is how you do the first one. So let's just go down here and make this query. Well, let's just create a new query. And we'll call this homework assignment. And let me pull in what it wanted me to do. So it wanted me to do this. So I will come over here and paste that in there, and then we'll do a hashtag. So that way it comments it out. So this is what we want to do. All right, so I'll do select. It says pull all data, so all from invoices table, and that is the AP column. So first thing I need to do is, what is it? Can you guys guess? And someone's probably screaming, type in use AP. You're right, if you said that, if you were thinking it. So select from invoice table. So first of all, I'd say let's get data from here real quick and make sure we know what we're getting. All right, so we do that. So the next thing is where invoice dates. We talk about where clauses. So we'll say where invoice date is between 5/1 and 5/8. So what you want to do here is you want to do tick 2018, tick 05, or comma, or hyphen, oh my gosh, and the day. And then do and 2018, 05, and I think it's at 31. Perfect. And that's it. That'll be the first query that you have to run, execute it. Look at that, you have results. Now, I don't want to do screenshots, you just save this. Remember, you'll save this as CMPS160 Mod 2, your last name, I'll say Seaman.SQL. So it saves it. Let's see what the next one was real quick. We're going to query that adds onto C. So that filters the invoice that is 10843. So let's try this one out. All right, so this is D. All right, I had D in there twice, guys. Perfect. So let's make life easy. Copy the query. Don't recreate the, and all it's asking for this one is where the invoice number is 10843. Now, it didn't specify is it between this date, so no. So all we'll do here is we'll do invoice number equals 10843. And you run that just to make sure there's data. And there you go. There's your answer. So I gave you guys two of them, C and D. I'll let you guys write E all the way down to L. Actually, this is left join. We haven't got to that yet, so we're going to take that one out. Write a query that queries data from vendors and joins. K, I'm going to take out as well. J, write the same query as I, take first name and last name, consolidate them. We know how to do that. I, write a query that is from the vendors table and join. So we're going to take I, K, and L out because we haven't did that yet. Write a query from the vendors table that includes city and state where only vendors are that are located in the state of Pennsylvania. Let's see here real quick. Write a query that pulls data from invoices, including following columns. You guys will be finding that. Write a query pulls data from vendor contacts, include full name, link first name and last name together. So that's using that Concatenate concatenation. Write a query that pulls invoice, so we're good there. H, write a query vendor table includes vendor city state that are located in the state of Pennsylvania, so you know how to do that. But I, K, and L, I'm taking out right now with you guys watching me because that is not, we're not ready for that at all. I, K, and L. So let's take that out and let's take that out because we're not ready for that yet, guys. So I'm sorry about that. So it'll only be HI. I want to make sure it's something you guys can do. Don't want to bury you. All right, cool. There you go. So that is your module, your lecture for this week. You have 3 videos to watch. 1 is we didn't get to do anything. 2 is we actually talked about stuff. And 3, we did stuff. So this is good. I really, and this is how each week will be. So getting into the following week, so when we come up here, week 3 we'll go through SQL commands, different commands. Week 4 we'll talk about data types and functions. We'll get into designing a database, which will be really cool. We'll talk about store procedures, more store procedures, and then DBA stuff. But ultimately, there's no midterm, there's no final, and there's no final project either. So this is just learning each week as we progress as a team. So it'll be a good learning. It should be a cool 8 weeks. So hopefully you guys get Slack. I'd like to see you guys on Slack. Slack me, let me know you got it. It's a good way to communicate. And if you guys have questions, reach out to me. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Usually during the day, it's really busy for me, but I'll get back to you. All right, so guys, thanks for watching. Have a great week. And all right.